Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm sitting down with Trayjen. He's moving quick in the game, talking out wholesales, doing creative deals, and even running Novations. He's also part of the closer control community. And what I like is that he's not just talking about it. He's actually one of the few guys who are always closing every single time. So we're going to get into the real stuff, how he builds rapport with sellers, how he runs his numbers fast, how he gets contracts signed without any back and forth, and how exactly he works with the VA teams. And also on top of that, the way he uses creative finance and locking deals. So this is hands-on, in-field stuff. And Trayjen is going to break down how exactly he does each and every single one of them. So Trayjen, thank you so much for being over here with us. With the team. It's always a pleasure, bro, having you over here. So one of the first things I want to ask you is, what's the one mistake most new investors make, especially when it comes to building rapport?
Oh, building rapport. Gosh, I think a lot of people try to force it, man. You hear these guys get on these calls and they're jumping right into it. Tell me about yourself. What do you like? You're trying to buy their house, right? As much as rapport is important and you're trying to get to know who you're talking to, really you should be addressing their pain points, why they're selling, why they're even looking to move. Are they trying to relocate? Are they downsizing because the house is too big for their family, right? You always want to build rapport, but while maintaining an objective. So if I'm jumping into rapport building, my first question almost every single call, as long as I confirm that that's who I'm speaking to and that's the address, out of curiosity, Mr. Seller, why are you looking to sell this one, right? So that's an inbound strat. If it's an outbound, hey, any curiosity, I saw you're the owner of this house. Have you thought about selling or hearing what your options are? Fire your strat, because if I know why they're selling, then I can jump into rapport. I don't have to force it. You just flow through the conversation. I had a conversation the other guy with a guy in Florida from an inbound lead moving back to Ohio. Coincidentally, we talked about how he's from here. He actually used to live, he grew up 5 minutes where I live from now. And that's something that just came from having the conversation, was not forced. A lot of investors, when they're building rapport, these new guys, these young guys, even, other people trying to get in the game, they know rapport is important, but they jump into a force of rapport rather than letting it naturally happen. So these guys really got to work on being conversationalists and letting that rapport flow naturally.
Yeah. And do you think this is something which is sort of like, sort of like taught, or is it like you're just born with it?
I'll be honest, I hate to say it. I really think great conversationalists are born. I've always been a yapper, right? When I was young in school, I always got in trouble for talking. I was always talking with the other kids, trying to figure out who had what going on or learn more about everyone else. I think it really is something you're born with. Now, can you become a great conversationalist or a speaker? But are people who are born with it a little bit ahead of a curve? Yes. Some of the quietest people in the world can be great speakers on stage in front of groups, but they're still quiet people. So I think both sides, yes. I think there are people born with it, but I also think there are people who can obtain the skill through a lot of repetition.
So another question which comes to my mind is, how do you balance empathy with still getting to the numbers?
Yes, crazy enough, we actually deal with a lot of divorces. We deal with a lot of probate. Probate's tough, right? I mean, you're talking to somebody who's an executor of an estate for somebody they love that passed away. So I've had this probate deal since March we're working with. It was her brother that passed away. A little bit of background about me. A transparent guy, I lost a brother when I was young. So obviously really resonated with me. Never easy, right? You still want to maintain the objective of the call, like I said, but they did lose a loved one. So you have to show that empathy. You got to show them that you actually care. You're not some guy just trying to buy their house, which I think I have an advantage because I'm a guy with a huge heart, right? And I care about everybody's a person. Everybody has their own battles. So, having that natural empathy puts me a step ahead of other people whose only goal is to close the deal. For me, I try to be a creative solutions guy and help everybody in any way I can. Most of these people through probate lost a loved one. They're now paying taxes, they're paying utilities, maintaining a house that maybe they don't want to keep. They'd rather just get out. A lot of these houses you see in probate of people that lived in these houses 30, 40, 50 years and did not maintain them. They're out of date. Then you have mechanicals from 30 years ago. Obviously, great cashes that need closed. A lot of these people don't know that there's investors out there buying houses like this. So me giving them the empathy that I actually do care and I sympathize with their situation. And then also piggybacking off that I can offer them a solution to solve their issue with this probate home. That's where the wins kind of accrue from.
So let's talk about how quickly you make decisions, right? So let's say when a lead comes in, what's the first thing you look at before you decide is it worth pursuing it or not?
Oh, good question. Leads are always worth pursuing if you have the right tools in your belt. Me, I offer cash deals, novation deals, creative finance deals. We're even working on a system where we can represent people to sell. So we're working on an agent slash consulting capacity, right? So my decision making is there any deal you should be able to make money is you pay for the lead, you better be able to make money off it on the back end. Whether it's a cash deal, whether it's a novation that you can list on market, whether it's creative finance, they owe as much as a house is worth. In a case, there's a house that's worth less than what they owe on it. We're doing a creative deal on it. Now we're adding a fourth buying option per se, or investor option. We're going to take 6% to list their house for them. We're going to give 2% to a buyer's agent, 2% to a seller's agent, and we're going to keep 2% for ourselves just to make money for the lead, right? So reducing friction gives me the ability to have a decision-making ability that is super fast because I know that my first objective is to listen why they're selling. The second I know why they're selling, the second I know their timeline to sell, if it's 30 days, pitch in cash. If it's 90-day timeline, I can give them a little bit more money on a novation deal. It's going to take longer to close. We're going to pre-market the property. If their reasoning and timeline is we have unlimited time, we just can't sell this because we have no equity. We don't want to deal with agents. I'm going to give you a creative option. If they want to list with an agent, they don't want to hear an investor offer or offers are too low, great. We actually have an in-house team of agents where we can go ahead and handle this for you, both on the buy and the sell side. Having the out or having every option to get out of their feedback or pushback lets me make very quick decisions. They give me all the information I need to know which offer or which thing is going to work for them.
So a follow-up question is like, how much time do you think like investors spend on just the analysis?
Way too much. Way too much. I hear not only the wholesalers, but cash buyers, right? Guys will spend days and days and days underwriting deals. To me, I don't know if I'm just a super analytical guy, but looking at a deal saying, here's a comps, here's what it'll sell for, here's an as-is value, here's a flip value, here's what it's going to take. I think learning rehab for wholesalers, if you can learn a rehab estimation just based off pictures, I took the time to do that. My life is so simple now as a wholesaler. I've been kind of testing myself the last 2 or 3 months, talking with my local guys in Akron. I've been doing a lot of dispo here. I'll give them a rehab number and say, hey, just, when your contractor's done, send me that over so I could see, because I'm kind of testing myself learning rehab. The last 6 deals I've done, I've been on the dollar every time with the rehab. To me, that's made wholesaling so simple and streamlined my process. I can sell deals in 48 hours now because I have the rehab down to a T. I know how to underwrite the deal because I know if it's going to be a $50K rehab at X ARV, I know an investor can buy it and will buy it at this, no questions asked, right? And when you have that as nailed down, you can do stuff so quick. You don't have to overanalyze because you're confident in knowing what you're doing. But, back to the question, yeah, a lot of these guys, they get deal analysis paralysis. They sit there and they stare. I don't care. I'm going to rip offers. I'm going to tell people this is the rehab. I'm going to tell a guy, hey, go walk it, have fun, 50K rehab. And when they come back and say, hey, you're right. Boom, great. I know the numbers work at the 50K rehab because you have 25% equity after the flip, even accounting for the hard money origination and the lending costs. It's a no-brainer for you, Mr. Investor. So yeah, really people spend a lot of time analyzing deals, too much. And that's why I hate to say it, but the guys who are taking 2 days to analyze a deal, they're losing it to a guy like me who analyzes it in an hour and's got it under contract.
We're going to jump into something which you're amazing at, is getting those contracts done fast. So the question would be like, how do you deal with sellers who just want to start or say, you know what, let me just think about it? How do you deal with that sort of scenario?
Yeah, big thing here is, a lot of people need to think about things because you didn't give them all the information they need. I always ask that. They say, hey, I just need to think about it. I'm like, I must have not done my job today. What could I have done better or explained better that you still may have questions on? And again, listen, because they'll give you what you need to hear. They'll say, hey, I don't really understand the inspection process. Why do you need that? Oh, we need the inspection process just because we got to get our contractors in there, make sure everything's as you described. We can get you an offer based on your word, but we've got to confirm everything, make sure, we don't want to buy it. If you say the roof's great and needs a $12,000 roof, we can't do that, Mr. Seller. So just asking, what do you have to think about? What can I answer better? What can I explain better? How can I help you circumvent that thinking you need to do? And again, there's some reasons where people might be able to get off the call. They need to think about it. It's a big financial thing. It makes sense.
And do you believe that speed matters more than price, especially when it comes to winning contracts?
Speed is the most important thing in this game. It is the most. Just like I said in our 2 questions ago, guys who would take 2-3 days to put a deal together, to underwrite it, to make something work with the seller. It's guys like me swooping in that take an hour to make something work for the seller. Prices is not always the most important thing. Anybody who says that's lying. This morning, I just locked up a Pittsburgh contract that another wholesaler had it at 230. Okay. After he locked up the contract, he didn't follow up with the seller. He didn't call him and let him know what was going on. He did nothing, absolutely nothing. I have called this seller every day for the past 3 weeks. Every day. We've had closer control following up every single day because of the automations he's in. He called, he said, listen, guys, I don't like the guys I'm working with. They're not really talking to me. They're being shady. What can we do? Me, being the FBI agent I am, I went all over, saw this guy blasted the deal all over the place at a super high number. I said, listen, man, I know for a fact, and I'm good with my numbers. I said, I know for a fact you sold to this guy for 230. He kind of paused because I hit the nail right on the head. I said, I will actually buy this property, right? Unlike those guys, I'll buy this property. But I am not going to be at that unrealistic number they gave you. I'm going to give you a realistic number where I can buy this, where I know things will work for everybody. I'm going to be at 200,000. He said, not where we wanted to be. Okay. But if I give you the security and the speed that you're looking for, because I listened to the seller and I knew that was the most important thing to him, was the security of the deal and the speed he's looking for. If I can guarantee you those things by a legally binding contract, can we sign this at $200,000? His answer, yes, because I addressed his problems. I addressed his concerns. I gave him the sense of security he was looking for. And I also built that rapport through the conversation and didn't force it. So we just, 2:30 today, about 2 hours ago, we contract signed. So after this call, I'm going to get off and market it, sell the deal. So
make sure that at least we don't follow up late, right? Get it done.
Right. Yeah, speed's everything, man. It really is. Speed. Price is obviously a super important thing when selling, right? But the speed and convenience is huge. It really is a case-by-case basis. When you talk to these sellers, I'll preach this till I'm blue in the whole face. When you figure out their pain, their problem, or what they're hoping to achieve just by listening, ask the right questions, you'll be told everything you need to know with a deal. Every single piece of any deal you could ever need comes from asking the right question.
So obviously we know that you're like a master conversationist, at the same time master closer as well. Is your VA team the same as you? Like how do you make sure that your VA team build rapport instead of just off a script?
I wouldn't say I have traditional VAs like most. I've got a local guy that I trust. Long story short, he actually used to be a flipper pre-COVID, got sick of doing the work, managing the work, knew a little bit about real estate, saw what I was doing, brought him in. I've trained another guy as well. I've trained somebody on somebody else's team, etc. I think the most important thing is training them to think like you. So I've always run my business a certain way. I do not use scripts at all. Do not use scripts. I will not make scripts for my people. I will not let them use scripts. The reason that a lot of the forced rapport that we talked about earlier, the reason that there is a lot of forced rapport, because these people are reading off the scripts and the scripts are saying, do this for rapport, go this way, go this way. It's to the point where people sound like robots, man. You heard me in live form making calls. It was the most natural thing because I'm a funny guy and I just say off the wall things, right? I had a guy tell me no to a cash offer. What was my response? Hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to throw you a real curveball here, right? And I threw him a curveball. I said, why don't you finance me the deal? These people, the AI there's AI callers now, right? I teach my people to be as personable, but as yourself as possible. Because if I make the right hire, I'm going to hire somebody whose personality is just like me.
Yeah.
I want you to be yourself on the phones because there's nobody like you. There's a million Eric Klein scripts out there that all sound the same and don't perform. There's one Trayjen and there's one way I'm pitching deals and one way I'm having conversation. Is never the same. Is never, ever, ever the same. I have so many mannerisms in my conversation that could never be mimicked. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to my acquisitions guy and I listen to his calls, like, hey, that was a pretty bland call, right? He listens to me on the phones and I'm saying, hey, I'm going to throw you a curveball, or hey, going to hit you with a 2-for-1. Why don't you finance me and I pay on the back end? Just that little mannerism, dude, like, hey, 2-for-1 here. You're going to get paid up front and I'm going to pay you when we sell the property. just stuff like that. It's so personable. It's a normal conversation. I personally, the way I look at it, I talk to people like I'm talking to my mother. My mom and I have one of the most choking relationships out of any son-mom combo you'll ever find. Single mother raised me. Now I'm just this big goofy idiot. I'm a foot taller than her, right? So we just have that joking relationship. And if I'm talking to a middle-aged woman, I'm going to speak to her like my mom. I'm talking to an old lady. Dude, this is the one thing I will gloat on forever. My rapport with the older generation, I promise you, no one has that rapport like I do with the older generation. Because I talk to them like they are my grandmother or my grandfather. I treat them with respect like they're my elders. I treat them with caring, compassion, sympathy, right? Way different. If I'm calling a middle-aged dude who thinks he's a hard ass, I'm going to give it right back. Because that's how you read the room, right? You read the room of who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. Dude, the psychology behind this game is everything. Everything. When you read the room and you assess who you're talking to, right? Connor says it all the time. Trey's a driver. When Connor and I have conversations and it's not as friends, it's as business, he comes into that conversation with the numbers, the facts, and the information I'm looking for. That's it. There is nothing else. We're having a business meeting. That is it. Because he understands my personality type as a driver. I need the information directly that I'm looking for, and that is it. I don't want any fluff. I don't want any BS, right? So he understands my personality type, which is why he's great. Vice versa, when you're on the phones, you can tell by how people answer the phone, Dion. If a guy goes, "Yep, this is Jeff," dude thinks he's a hard ass, right? I'm going to go in the conversation and give it right back.
I've seen multiple times you knock it out of the park with those tough sellers as well. I think when we did it in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? This guy didn't want to sell at all, but then you threw him a curveball and you got him hooked in.
Yep. So that's the other thing too, man. It's like, I just don't think these guys get it. They don't read the room in these scripts. That's another problem, right? I train the people that work for me, or train the people that I train. You have to read the room. If I'm talking to sweet old one lead, I've at the probate case I've been working on for 6 months, sweet old Carolyn. I call Carolyn and I have the sweetest voice on me. "Hey, Carolyn, how are you today?" Right? But if I'm calling Jeff, I'm like, "Hey, Jeff, how you doing, man?" It's the pitch, the intonation, how you address it, how you speak. It can never be the same. Never, ever. There's a really long answer to that question, but that is one of the most important things. Listening, reading the room, shifting. That's it. If you can do that, there's no reason you can't crush.
Got it. So I think those, in short, you could say like those are the habits that you would want in your VA to help succeed in the business.
Be yourselves. Be yourselves. Because I won't hire a cornflake. You know what I mean? I hired a cornflake who's just going to be as bland as a cereal box. Yeah.
Better come with personality or don't come at all.
Exact. I like that. I'm going to send that in my team meeting.
Perfect. Go ahead. So now let's jump into the novations as well as the creative finance. Let me just rephrase it again. When do you decide to go for a creative versus a standard wholesale?
Yeah. So the way I like to do things, I love getting paid fast, man. Love getting paid. Those quick cash deals, 30-day close, boom, 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 they rip, right? So for me, in my business, I'm always pitching cash deals first. We kind of have like a ladder of systems. So we'll always pitch the cash deal first on a 30-day close, because a lot of sellers are filling out these forms for inbound for a quick cash close, as well as outbound. They love the quick cash in their pockets, same as me. We're the same people. So I always start with the cash deals. Our backup, novations, that's our second step. If a cash deal is going to work because the number's too low and their timeline is acceptable of having a 60 to 90-day close, then we'll push for innovation. "Hey, Mr. Seller, we can get you more money on your purchase price. The only caveat is you're going to have to hold the property for an extra 30 to 60 days on top of the original 30 from the cash," right? So we'd pitch it as, you're going to have to hold that deal or that property for an extra 30 to 60 days while we close. We're also going to have the authorization to pre-market the property. That way we know who our buyer is. The reason we can give you more money is we're not having those holding costs. So we're not going to have the taxes, insurance, or interest for 3 to 4 months while we do a traditional flip or whatever we need to do to get the property market ready. What we're going to do is take those holding costs, put them directly into your pocket while we find that buyer. So when we find the buyer, we not only A, can hide the rehab costs into their mortgage, B, we can have those renovations and make it their perfect dream home. Now, are we doing that every time? Absolutely not. Am I giving seller credits occasionally for a painter to come in and repaint everything? Am I giving seller credits for new flooring? Of course. Did I give a seller credit on a deal for a 1-car attached garage? Yeah, because they offered 10 grand over asking. Of course I am, right? So it's pitching that to the seller for the novation as the backup. If cash doesn't work, that pitch is crushing. Third, novation's not going to work. They owe too much. Boom. It's an instant seller finance, right? If they don't have to get out of the house, if they don't care, when it sells, right, we're going to pitch creative. I personally like creative because the lease option, you get paid a lot more on the back end. You have somebody who's paying your rent each month, but it's not actually reducing your balance with them. It's just reducing the balance with the seller. So you're the one getting that massive increase in equity over the year or two. Yeah, I'll say I'm not the Pace Morby expert like him, but I know it well enough to know that there's a time and place to pitch it, and those are the time and places.
I mean, we all got to start somewhere, right? I mean, to be honest, based on what I know about you and based on how much we have spoken with, I think you know pretty good enough stuff.
I appreciate it. I'm trying. I spend a lot of time. I'm very adamant on my calendar, and I put blocks in my calendar just to learn more on creative stuff.
It's amazing. So, how much do you think creative strategies are becoming necessary in today's market?
Well, that's it. That's a fantastic question, because I tell a lot of people that are around me or in my space, or people who even ask, if you're doing cash only deals, you are screwed. I'll say that again for the emphasis. If you are only offering cash deals, you are screwed. The cash deals there's so many people out there offering cash, right? Especially on the inbound side of things. You got people who are filling out 30 forms, they're getting 30 cash offers. Me personally, I'm too busy to get into bidding wars. I don't care. I will tell a lead, if they say, hey, we've got 20 other offers that are better than yours, good, great, have it. And when they don't close, come on back, right? So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're only offering cash. Having that novation, I've had 4 deals in the last month alone that I could never in a million years do cash because they're too nice of houses. And they were okay with a 90-day timeline, right? If I didn't know novations, those are going down the toilet. They're getting flushed, burned with the $100 bills that were paid for that lead. They're getting flushed and burned. So not having that creative backup it's killer. It'll kill deal flow. It'll kill your pipeline. It's bottleneck, right? It's what it is. So, the teaching that I do, I teach a lot of novations. Nobody out there is teaching novations. The only novation pitches out there are bland and don't really explain or make sense to the seller. I think the framework that's out there is very poor. Pitching it as a reverse flip and making that make sense to the seller is a lot easier than saying, hey, this is a home equity protection program. This is what we're going to do. It just sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo where people know what flips are. And if I say, hey, it's just a backwards flip, it's like a Uno reverse card, right? We're just going to find the buyer up front and close on it a little bit later. Jeez, it's like you're speaking English. But you go into some of these other frameworks and pitches and you speak in Spanish to these guys. I don't speak Spanish. I speak a little Spanish, maybe 10%. That's exactly what these homeowners are hearing.
Okay, so Trayjen, let's jump into the rapid fire questions. Let me know when you're ready. And let's get right into it.
Ready, let's go.
Okay, so first question. What's harder? First call with the seller or first call with the VA?
Well, first call with the seller, especially if it's outbound. If it's outbound, your first call with the seller, they're probably getting 1 million calls. They're ready to hang up. They do not want to speak to you. You've got a minute maximum to get these people on the line. You're fishing, you're dangling the worm out there. You better make sure that's the best worm in the world because you want them to stay on the phone to get the deal.
Next question. Would you rather do 10 wholesale deals a month or 2 creative finances a month?
I would rather do any deals that are paying me the most. If a novation is going to net me 40K and I could do 2 of those and make 80, it's a lot less effort than 8 10K deals. So whatever deals are the best fit for me with the biggest spreads are what I'd like to attack.
Next question. Is building rapport a skill or is it just natural personality?
I think it's natural. I think rapport comes natural. It comes from being a conversationalist. You also have to have that natural intuition to be able to read the room. Listen. Listening is the biggest thing when it comes to building rapport. If you ask the right questions, they'll give you everything you need to build that rapport.
Next question. Cash offers or creative finance? What wins more often for you?
If you have both methods, if you can give a novation pitch that works when a cash doesn't, if you can do cash and a novation won't work because they need a quick close, or if they owe too much money, you're able to give them a creative finance where they seller finance you the deal and you can lease option it on the back end. The less friction you have, the more deals you can do.
And last question. Do you think most investors overcomplicate deals?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People get deal analysis paralysis. They take too long to underwrite. They're not confident in their offer. They're not confident in their rehab. They don't understand the comps. If you learn to underwrite and you learn to comp, you're going to be golden.
So Trayjen, thank you so much for answering the rapid fire questions. I know our time is running out, but I felt like this was like one of the amazing sessions I had with you. So Trayjen, I know our time is running out. Thank you so much once again for joining on this call with us. It's always a pleasure having you over here and always learning more about your journey.